Good afternoon. It is January 21st, 2022. It's Friday, and today, really, I would consider today I guess a downtrend day. You can see we have this spike and channel down. Looks like it started at about 8:30 or so. So the bias is definitely down. We hit the measured move of the overnight range, so that's you can see price bounce right there when we hit that measured move. So the bias was definitely down. There were some longs in here, but not a lot. They felt like, this one just felt like a strong correction for whatever reason. My guess is that this is probably the bounce right here is probably like the midline between these lows and the measured move. But yeah, you can see that looks like it might be. So we came up short of that measured move, and maybe that's why this spike and channel down formed. But anyway, also one thing to note is the final closing 11 minutes or 57 bars. So I didn't see that happen, but that must have been a wild ride for those of you who were watching the chart. But anyway, you can see in the overnight, we just kind of had this choppiness, leg down, looks like a trend up, a break, and a move to a new high before we have this, I guess, probably two legs down. You see one leg here, and then it just started chopping sideways. And I think that this trend is probably accurate because the midline appears to be valid. So yeah, that's what I saw. Let's see. I think, whoops, let me move this down a little. So I marked this because if you draw this trend channel off of these two swings, you can see you get a lower high here. If you took that trade, which I did, I took this as a lower high right here, and a first entry, second entry, lower high. You got stopped out and you got trapped. So I guess you're going into the midline of this range, whereas this bar closes beneath it. So that's something to keep in mind. I really felt like this was a good setup, but you see these are all inside this bar. You got doji here. This is kind of a doji. This is definitely a doji. Doji here. So when you see all them dojis, man, you just gotta avoid it like the plague. Especially at my level. I may be an experienced person, but not me. So I marked this one because it's like a lower high and a failed second entry long off that trend line. But you can see it bounces right off that midline, and we get a correction. And yeah, we break this channel, and you get a second entry long, and that's right at the open, and you had time to get in this, and it's a good entry. We had a break of this channel, and we didn't make a move to a new high yet, so I like that entry. If you don't get in on that, you get a failed second entry short right here, and at this point it looks like we'll probably try and test the overnight highs. If not the overnight highs, then this closing price from yesterday. And I definitely marked this aggressive. You're right above these highs, this swing high, so that's aggressive, but you might consider it. So we have a break of this channel, move to a new high before we start trending lower, and you get a first entry, failed second entry long, but it's a bit away from the EMA. It's off the trend channel, but it's off the EMA, or it's too far from the EMA. It's also a doji. We had a doji here, and this is a very bearish doji, but it's still a doji. We get an overshoot, leads to a break. That's technically a second entry short, so you might take that, but what is that? 25 tick bar, so probably not the best idea. And here, if you were thinking clearly, this is a second entry short right here. Unfortunately, you wouldn't have been able to. I do think this blue channel is valid, even though you see a break right here. I do think it's valid. You wouldn't have been able to have that though, because your trend channel probably would have been drawn off this high. So even still, taking a look at this, we're probably expecting a new low because this break isn't too convincing. And even if it is a break, it's only one leg down to a new low. So when you get this strong buying and then this strong selling and then a second entry short right here, I think you can take that. It kind of looks like you got a new high right here. So first entry, failed second entry, but I don't like the way it sets up for a failed second entry long because this barely ticks higher. But this is a new high, and you get a first entry, failed second entry. This is just too far from the EMA and congestive. And then we get this range down here. You can see this is a range, range, range. So when it breaks higher, this is a first, second entry. And if you somehow had this trend channel drawn correctly, maybe you're just an advanced chart reader, then I think you could probably be aggressive and take that. So we break below that and form another range. You can see it's range after range after range after range. And this one forms at the overnight lows, so you really just got to sit tight. You get a first, second entry, and I don't know if that would have given you a scalp, but I think you got to... So yeah, that would have given you a scalp, but I think you got to sit out of that one. Even though it kind of looks like a failed breakout, that gets you 5 ticks exactly. So even though it looks like a failed breakout, you can see prices just chopping around and you're going short into the overnight lows. So I think you got to sit tight. When we come up here, and this is a counter trend break out of congestion, and you get this lower high, extremely bearish. I think you can take that, and I think you can take this failure if you don't take that. They're both very good setups. But with this failure, I would probably only be expecting a scalp. But it looks like you might have gotten a runner. So, and again, we break lower and form a range down here. So this is just a first entry, but it looks like a lower high from this and a lower high off of this trend channel. So I like it, but the only thing is we're late in the trend, and you haven't come to the bottom here, you haven't come to the bottom here, and you know, it looked like we got a break up here. So that looks like break one leg down, 2 legs down. So you do get a third leg down, but I think that's an aggressive move, and then it bounces. And I don't see any way to reasonably enter this, unfortunately. It's just too far from the EMA and no setups. Then we start correcting here. Let me try and measure, or not measure, draw this trend channel. This looks like a channel to me. So you get a break in a new high before it starts reversing, and you get a first entry, and you get a failed second entry right here. You can see it ticks lower, but it's not off of the EMA, nor is it off of the trend channel. So when it comes down here and makes a high, that's a second entry short, and it looks like that's going to be the failure. So I think you can take this, and that gets you a scalp. But then we're just in a range, and I don't see any way to see a trade in here in this bounce. It looks like it's a counter trend breakout. But you know, it rockets up to these overnight highs, right? Yeah, overnight highs, and just chops around, and this is just too congestive. This is a second entry short, but I think you're going into that it just, I don't see how you could know to enter here other than the EMA. So you might consider that. It also looks like a failed second entry long, so there are reasons to think about that, but you're going into the opening prices and you're going into the what looks like it might be the bottom of the range. And so we come up, we test this high, and we get a break of this channel. Whoops, we get a break of this channel. You try and go higher once, and then you try and go higher a second time, and then you try and go higher a third time, and it ticks one tick higher. This looks like a trap to me. I don't know if you could get in on it. I don't know if it rocketed down. Well, you can see that it's a trap here, but I like that. There's so much space back to the EMA. Yeah, that's like over 2 points of room. This is looking like it's pretty, I'm trying to measure that, but it looks like it's pretty low risk relative to the day, 74.25. Yeah, it's about 14 ticks or so, or excuse me, 10 ticks. But that's all it's really good for. Looks like we bounce off the closing price from yesterday in here, and this is a failed second entry short, but this is way too congestive in my opinion. But you can see it's some sort of trap. As you can see, it rockets on up. And thought I drew this channel, but you can see we get a break, close outside, move to a new high before it reverses, and this has been working all day, but you can see this failed second entry right here. I would have probably taken this and gotten trapped here. So let me think about, well, it bounces off this midline, so maybe that's why you wouldn't want to take that, this bounce. I had to take a break, but I think I can finish now. So I do remember I was talking about this right here. Now I don't know why I didn't see this earlier, but you can see if this is your potential trend channel, this is an overshoot. So why should you expect it to bounce right here? You shouldn't. So wait on the better entry, and unfortunately if you took the second entry short, it looks like that might have failed too, if that broke lower first, which I don't know if it did. So if you happen to be waiting and then you get this extremely bearish signal bar that closes on its low, I think you can take that. But even, I mean, if you're watching this live, 40 or 72.50, so that's 4 ticks, and you'd probably back out anyway, because these are all dojis and they're chopping people up left and right, so who knows what you would do in real time. But anyway, this breaks out of the range, or the potential range down here, and then we form this spiking channel. And first I was looking at this yellow channel, but then later it looked like the larger channel, let's take a look, is actually valid too. So in this yellow channel, prices are really just chopping around. And this was pretty hard to find. So if you happen to find it, you get the second entry short, you might take that. Really hard to find, I think. So I think it's just really tough. And the price action for me lately has been very difficult to read. So I don't know if you guys feel the same or not. But this is a potential entry here. I don't see anything else. Unfortunately, this one doesn't set up, but it is a second entry short. That's just a doji. And yeah, this is a first entry. This is not a good signal bar. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to move that. Let's see, that's probably it. And I think this is a good entry right here, but you wouldn't have much of a. Trying to think. You wouldn't have a trend channel drawn here, but you can see that we rocket out of this yellow channel, and we get a break of this short-term trend line, and we get a new high right here, and then a lower high. And look at all that space back to the EMA, and that would have gotten you a really good move. So draw your short-term trends. I don't see anything really in here. First entry, failed second entry, but we have no idea that this downward move is over. Yeah, we're below the overnight highs or lows now, but I don't know. So if you're thinking like that, maybe you would go long here, but it just seems too early to me. We had an overshoot that leads to a break, and then that confirms this. Well, no, yeah. You could say that confirms this channel. I'd probably wait until another confirmation, though. We get a bounce here, and then we get a lower high here, and then a failed second entry long here. But who knows, man? Maybe this, you know what? I would say I probably should have had this. Yeah, that's probably how the channel is. So I do like this failure. It's just that it's looks like it's a very massive bar, so high risk. And then you keep getting touches. You get a touch right here. That looks like a third entry. I just don't like it closes above the EMA, and we haven't come back to these lows. And this is just a range. But I do like this entry because it's yet another test of this trend channel. And it's a second entry short, so, and it looks like a failed breakout of that range, so that gets you a nice move down. You get a second entry short here, but the setup's no good. It's not near the trend channel, so if you want to take the lower high, that comes right here, so you might consider that. Then we come down here and we overshoot. Well, it looked like this could have been a channel because of this midline, but I think really this was probably just a leg down. But we overshoot this larger blue channel, and that doesn't last too long. And by that time, you should be looking for the measured move of the overnight highs and lows. So we get this this buying coming in. We get a break and a move to a new high. And it looks like a first failed second entry long, so you might take that, but it's just not a great setup because this looks like a range. But now when I'm thinking about it, it looks like we broke down into this range, and so yeah, that's a pretty decent move. We hit the measure move and we bounce, and that takes us into like 12:30. So I didn't mark anything after this. I wouldn't be going long personally, and I don't like any of these shorts. That's a third entry right there. This is along near the trend channel. So you might, I mean, you can see we have a channel up and a break and a move to a new high, but we don't get a lower high. So that's what I saw for today. I took one trade on the simulator. I didn't even measure the risk. Oh, it looks like I took two trades. Did both? Oh, both of them didn't work. Okay. So, really quickly, as you can hear, I'm pretty busy, but this one, I didn't even measure the risk on this. It looks good, but look at all that congestion. And that was like a 7-point move, so that was... I lost a lot on the simulator on that. And then what did I do here? I went short again on a lower high, and I just got trapped by one tick. So right idea, just wrong place. So I hope everyone had a good day, and I hope everyone has a good weekend. God bless, and I'll be back next week.